The last two desk setups I've had have been pretty bad. This is a picture of the one I was using most recently. I had another setup prior to that I don't have a picture of. It was particularly bad. I was sitting up on a bar stool type chair, which caused me to keep crossing my legs, which would over time torque my knee, and it started hurting pretty badly. And then I would lean forward. So I got rid of that and moved to this more basic setup. But even that was pretty bad because the monitors were too far away, and so I kept leaning forward and arching my back, and I started to get pain right between my shoulder blades. So I really wanted to have a setup that could take advantage of the four monitors without causing any pain from, repetitive stress injuries. I'm a software developer, and that's what the computer generally gets used for. When it's in the grid layout, here's how I generally use the monitors. The lower left is the main monitor where I do text editing, where I write code. The monitor immediately above that is where I'll have a browser with the work in progress. Generally, I'm doing something like web development. I'm working with a server, so I'll use that to test things. In the upper right, I'll have all of my other stuff that's always open. My emails, my calendars, music that's playing, my to-do list. And then the monitor in the lower right just sort of is a catch-all. I'll have SSH terminals open there, documentation. Sometimes if I need code editors side by side, I'll open a second editor there. And this works pretty well, except that I'm always looking straight forward for the two main windows and turning my head to the right for the support. But this is the layout I've always wanted. Having the two main windows centered is much nicer, and the support browser with email, calendar, all of that works better in a portrait mode than a landscape mode, as do all of the other things that I put on the monitor that's now to the far right. Other browsers for documentation or terminals, they all work well in a portrait mode. So this was the thing I really wanted. As I mentioned, one of the problems is that the monitors were too far away. So I did some tests and I came up with a distance of about 18 inches. The monitor should only be about 18 inches from my eyes to prevent me from leaning in. The problem with this was that the monitors are almost 3 feet across, so the viewing angle on the two side monitors is almost 45 degrees when I'm 18 inches away. So I needed to design a stand that would actually curve the monitors so that as I turned my head, I would be viewing everything straight on. So I mocked it up in Blender just to get an idea of what a monitor stand like that would look like. And this is what I came up with. I wasn't using this as an actual CAD design, just a sort of starting point to make sure then everything would work out. Setting up the first two monitors was pretty easy. Propping them up on a 2x4 gave them the correct angle. I used this common board to build the stand. 2x4 would have been stronger, but at the end it would have been really heavy. You can see here how I got it all laid out and carefully measured before I started gluing things together. A lot of the design didn't need to be very precise, but the screws had to be spot on. So you can see here that I positioned everything before I started gluing it together. Then it was just a matter of clamping it and giving it time to dry. After it's set, I drilled some holes and added dowel joints. I figured these would be a better choice than screws. The frame's going to need to be able to flex and bend with the weight, and I was afraid that the screws would start tearing the soft wood, whereas the dowel joints will flex with the frame. Supporting the side monitors during construction was a bit more of a challenge. I tried propping them out with 2x4s, but that didn't really work. So I came up with this. It was a bit of a kludge, but it worked in the end. This is what the frame ended up looking like. Despite its simple construction, it took many hours to complete because of the high degree of precision that was required. The next step was to add a mounting point so that it could be mounted onto a frame and supported at the correct angle. I went with these dowel rods. They're not that strong, but I only need to worry about the shear force, and there will only be a force of about 15 pounds on each of the mounting points, so I was pretty sure that the dowel rod could stand up to that. I threw together this temporary frame that I plan on using for a few weeks. This will let me test the placement of the monitors and figure out where I want my mouse and keyboard. I'm glad I did this because I already found that I want the monitors a foot higher than I originally thought. so I'll be building a second temporary frame soon. I have plans for a more intricate final design, but you'll have to stay tuned to see that. And here's the full setup. I'm using this cheap IKEA chair, but it's got a pretty good back and neck support. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll post an update with the second temporary frame soon. Bye.